Good afternoon, everyone. Why it looks like everyone is tired? Is it the lunch? Is it us? Or is the previous panel? Okay. Unfortunately, apologies. I don't have much jokes about regulation, nation. So you'll just forgive me there because if I go to some of my jokes, I think it will offend other people. So I just want to keep it safe. Thank you very much for making time for today's topic that we're actually going to look at. So I'm sure all of you basically are waiting this panel just to hear, obviously, in terms of how, as a nation, we can actually enforce regulation. Organization today, they face escalating cyber threats, um, tightening regulatory obligations, and rising expectation for trustworthy, high-quality data. And as cybercrime grows, where obviously, I'm sure you've heard of many cyber crimes that have occurred within the financial services. As of digital ecosystem expand, businesses must simultaneously secure their technological environment, protect the sensitive information, and ensure that with evolving standards that we have like Popeye and even specific regulations that the data and also information is actually protected. So with me, I'm sure you did hear. Obviously, I'm joined by these highly experts within obviously financial services that work in the IT and also around the topics that we'll be looking at. So just to start, maybe for us, obviously, that are here, okay, I'm just trying to get something here. Apologies. Some of us were old-fashioned. We carry digital gadgets, but we still stick to the normal old-fashioned way of doing things. Okay, maybe let me just start. Maybe my first question, obviously, as we are aware that there are many cyber criminal activities that are taking place, and as organizations, we need to enforce controls and also ensure that our data is protected and also comply with the regulations requirements that are actually there. Maybe just to start with Pride, who obviously operate within the financial services. Maybe if she can just give us how can organization improve employees' awareness and also reduce human error, which remains one of the biggest cybersecurity risks.
Okay. Even though I'm way younger than Muvhango, I also have papers with me. So, for organizations to improve and enhance their cyber awareness programs, they need to be following a comprehensive approach that's centered around people, technology, and process. They need to be moving away from those once a year awareness programs that they do and now start building on a continuous cybersecurity culture. And for this to be effective, it needs to be practical and also behavioral. Hence, a strategy around human risk management can be adopted because with human risk management, it's not only about training, but it's about behavior. So it's able to then profile your employees, and based on the profiles, you're able to apply and tailor your interventions so you can then decrease or mitigate the threats that would be brought in by your high risk employees, for example. So HRM is a strategy that could be adopted because it's behavioral. And also then when it comes to the technological side of it, organizations can look at integrating the tools that they currently have. So they could integrate the cyber awareness tool with the data loss tool. And also if they do have an HRM tool, they can also add that in to have a holistic view of the employees' behavior. Then in that way, they're able to deal with with human error and the awareness, enhancing the awareness of the people. Because ultimately, reducing human error is not about blaming the users. It's about creating or designing systems and processes that allow the users to make the secure action to be the easiest thing that they do. So cyber needs to be, or cybersecurity needs to be embedded in the everyday workflows of employees. So if the blame culture is not in place and users are able to they're able to report when they're seeing anomalies without the fear of being blamed. This will allow institutions to be able to respond in time to incidents, because when people are scared to respond, to report things, then you invoke your incident response and recovery processes late. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure you do see that there's a relation between HR management and also technology and also regulation. So I think it's very important that whenever we operate in that space, risk assessment is also done in order to ensure that human errors are actually managed and also limited. Maybe just to come to you, Mandla, from, I mean, she did mention about risk management, but from risk assessment point of view, we do see that organizations have to ensure that there's continuity or there's recovery of their processes. If, for example, there's disaster that loomed, I'm sure you know, we just from load shedding. Thank God we're not in load shedding anymore. But maybe your question is, how often should organizations test their disaster recovery, cybersecurity response plans, and also what are the common gaps uncovered during the testing process?
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and good afternoon to colleagues here. I also brought in this notebook as a backup mechanism in case my phone dies. So that's part of disaster recoveries, because business must continue whether the systems are down. You should be able to have an alternative plan to continue. So it has worked for me today. So in terms of how often should we test, I would just put a standard that ideally twice a year there should be tests that is conducted to and just determine if the systems are able to be restored on time, and we should test that resilience, because when we talk about cybersecurity, there is an element of availability. What people normally think about when they talk of security is about privacy and also maybe authentication, things like that. But availability is a core factor. So if we design systems and processes and they cannot be recovered on time to ensure that there's that availability, we are actually failing. So it's important that we continuously test these systems. So if there's nothing that has changed, twice a year is normally the best standard. But you can also test it more frequently if there are changes that are happening in your environment. So as maybe there's a mission critical system that has just been introduced and it's affecting other systems. So it means you should be able to test it much more frequent than twice in a year. And in terms of the problems that we normally pick up when we do the test, what I've observed is that there is a mismatch between what is written and what is happening on the ground. So we find that there is a disaster recovery plan, but when we are testing, you find that actually these steps that have been put there are not actually what is happening on the ground. So you end up depending on people's knowledge, because they say, no, this step doesn't work like this, it works like that. So now, if that person is not available when there's a problem, you find that what you have written on paper is actually not very, very useful. So there's that mismatch between what is written and what happens when there's a disaster. And that is very key, that it should be There should be that alignment. And what I've also seen is that when we do the test, because tests are about identifying gaps, but if something fails, people look at each other and say, it's like things are bad. But actually, if something fails when you are testing, it's okay because that's when you are able to pick up issues and be able to now fix them. But if I will now be concerned that if this test fails, then my job is at risk, then I'll normally take a safe scenario to test. So that's another thing that people normally take the least disruptive scenario when they do the test because they want this test to be successful so that they look good. But find that is not very helpful when we are actually having a problem, in the system. So it's important that is also taken care of. And I think the last point, what I've normally seen as well when we do this test, is that we learn lessons, but it be just something we learned during that test, but we don't go back and update our documents or our processes to align with what we picked up when we're doing the test. It will be just a close-out meeting, then we say, this is what happened, but when we do the test 6 months later, we still encounter the very same problems that we encountered 6 months ago. So you find that this was just a tick box exercise. Lessons were not learned. There's no follow through to ensure that next time when there are these problems, we are able to address them. So those are some of the issues that I can just pick up around disaster recovery. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, yeah, what's coming out from there, obviously, lesson learned are very important. We shouldn't always do things to ensure that we tick the boxes. But no, thank you very much. Maybe just to go back to... okay.
I just also wanted to add that now when it comes to cybersecurity, institutions now are supposed to be assuming breach. So what Mandla is highlighting now is very critical, that you're supposed to be now focusing on cyber resilience and just assume that you can be hacked or you already have been hacked. So you need to make sure that your recovery plans are working fine and testing as often as you should be. So yeah, just wanted to add that.
Okay, no, thank you much. Thank you very much. Maybe just to go back to you, Pride, you did mention issues around having those cyber security tools that can come in handy in the previous question we asked. So I do see that obviously in most organizations, whenever they get compromised, we always blame it to, it's like in every way that whatever you do, if there's something wrong, you have to blame someone else. We always shield ourselves by going to say, no, it's third parties that committed such activities. So maybe to you, Pride, how can organization better manage cybersecurity risk introduced by the third-party vendors, suppliers, and cloud providers?
So third-party risk has shifted from being a procurement issue. It's now a cyber and resilience concern, right? And the best place to start is have a strong onboarding. Organizations need to know what data is being touched by my vendors and which vendors are providing critical services for me. So, and which then brings the traditional tiering and also data classification. It makes that very critical now because you need to know what data would be at risk if it's compromised from the vendor side. And so real maturity actually comes with continuous oversight when it comes to your vendors, and not just doing those assessments once in a while, just doing those checks once in a while, because those checks actually only provide us with a point-in-time view of our vendors' security controls. So it's important that we have continuous oversight, and that would include ongoing monitoring, risk monitoring of our vendors, and also with the contracts, like our contractual obligations with our vendors, need to ensure that cyber is front and center when it comes to that. We need to make sure that cyber is included on the contracts with our vendors. And with that in place, then it allows us to be monitoring our vendors ongoing. And when it comes to also the technological side of it, other aspects that we can look at is putting your vendors on a separate network, or having a different segment of the network where you put your vendors there and have capabilities where you can detect incidents that are coming straight from them, and you have that monitoring on the side. And with regards to the cloud, like in the cloud context, it's critical for your organizations to understand the responsible, the shared responsible model, because you can't outsource accountability as an institution. You can outsource your environment or your infrastructure, but you cannot outsource you cannot outsource accountability. And I think this year we've noted some financial institutions which had been compromised via the third parties. So I think then the focus should be on visibility and accountability, and also you need assurance, like continuous assurance from all your vendors. So I think that this is like the best way to manage your vendors. If you got visibility about what's going on with your data, and it's clear about who's responsible for what, and you know that you've ironed it out with your vendors, that if there's an incident, this is your responsibility and this is my responsibility, then you'll be able to better manage your vendors when something happens.
Yes, thanks, Muvhango. Just to add a little bit on what Pride is saying is that what we find is that big entities, they have good cyber security processes, because they are matured, but because they have to work with some vendors, some of them are small entities, we have to align with BE and stuff. So we find that those entities don't have the security that is equal to what the big entities have. So it's important that when we enter into agreements with these small players, we also align, indicate to them our processes as big entities, that this is how we do things here, so that they are aligned, because Pride is saying that accountability, and it's always the person that owns the data, and sometimes if that small entity is breached, it affects the big entity. So it's important that they understand the processes of the entity that they are providing service to.
Okay, thank you very much. So as we all know also that, due to this evolving technology that we are in, where there's always changes and growth, there are many emerging risks that are now prone to all of the systems that we use. So when it comes to cybersecurity and also regulatory environment, there are actually risks in that arena. So for all of us here, it can be that cybersecurity risk or issue only reside within the technological people or technological department. It is something that must be embraced within the whole organization, from the IT, even the GRC, which is the governance, risk, and compliance. So if we are to ensure that we manage this emerging risk that can also compromise organization, obviously in line with what we want to achieve, to ensure that when it comes to data protection, our data is actually protected, and those that are housing or they're holding our data, whether it's a financial institution, then we can actually be comfortable that no one can also compromise those data. Maybe my question now also to Mandla again is basically, how should IT, risk compliance, and business teams collaborate on a day-to-day in order to manage cyber risk cybersecurity and regulatory risk more effectively?
Yes, thank you so much for that question. So it's important for the parties, the three parties, to understand that when they are working in an entity, they are working together toward achievement of entity's goals. So there should be no competition among the parties, whereby you want to be seen to be doing better than the other party, because that creates a process whereby each party becomes defensive. So if someone from legal or from compliance pinpoint something that I'm not doing well in IT, if the environment allows me to be transparent to that person, it's easy for me to share my frustrations, and they can also assist me to fix that problem. So we need that environment which allows parties to share information without any, I would say, negative consequences, whereby if something is picked up, then, someone be reported and there's consequences, etc. Because people end up hiding information that can assist the organization. So that means the leadership at the top, who people are leading these teams, should inculcate that culture whereby information can be freely shared among the parties without really having those negative consequences, because then it will also assist there. And also, what I've seen, obviously what we have tried as well, because as a person responsible for IT in my entity, it's also good to have informal engagements, before formal meetings, whereby you just sit around the table, you talk, nicely with your colleague, and then be able to identify issues, and you find that people, when you are doing that, they are more likely to share than when you only meet informal sessions whereby meetings are recorded and stuff like that. Then people are likely to only say what they believe is right. But when you are in an informal session, someone can share information that you wouldn't get anywhere else, and it helps. And if they know that that environment is also allows you so that whatever that has been shared in that informal meeting will not be used against you, but will be used to actually improve the controls within the business. And lastly, I think the other thing is about continuous learning. It's important that if there are incidents that have occurred in the entity, we sit down, we learn from them. We don't only learn from the bad ones. We also learn from the good ones, whereby we see that we did well here. Okay, how did we do well? Was it not a chance? So that we can repeat it in future. Because if something went very well, you should be able to repeat it. But if something didn't go well, then you should be able to identify those issues again and fix the problem rather than dealing with the person. So it's important to create an enabling environment where information can be freely shared in a way that is not punitive, but in a way that encourages cooperation among the parties.
Pride, if you want to add something? Okay, no, thank you very much. I think just on that one, so you indicated that if you do a process very well, then you can repeat it. So I don't know with the auditors or with the department if there are repeat audit findings, so why they keep on recurring. So I don't know, so maybe somehow it looks like they are liking these issues. That's why they keep on recurring every year. But anyway, I think maybe just to go to Pride, because AI is now like the buzz in everywhere. I'm sure some of you even use those tools to draft certain things. We just heard recently that even the Department of Science and Technology, they formulated that AI framework or standard using the AI tool, which obviously was in the news. So we didn't expect that from them. But anyway, I think maybe to Pride, how are organizations using AI and automation to improve threat detection, compliance, monitoring, and security operations?
I'm sure most people have heard now about Anthropic cloud mythos, right? Yeah. So AI and automation are becoming essential because of the scale and speed that the threats are coming in now. So organizations equally now need now to also use AI to defend against those attacks, because they're quite sophisticated now that the humans unable to respond on their own. You need AI as an institution yourself to respond to that. So now we'll be seeing an AI versus AI incidents happening, which is quite interesting now, actually. So AI can be used to detect anomalies quickly and also respond to them quickly, and also to prioritize incidents and also triage the incidents. It really helps now with the analyst, where it's going to be reducing the noise on the security operation teams, and those teams can now do something else when the analyst duties are done by AI. And also, when it comes to AI on compliance, since we now have an increase in regulatory requirements, and AI can help with automation of control risks, and also reporting, like making reporting quicker. So on top of all of that, with AI being able to assist with doing all of these things, we need to ensure that we govern AI properly. There needs to be a strong AI governance to manage the risk that it presents, such as bias, that's the hallucination, and also people over relying on it. So we need good governance to put a layer on top for using AI as well. And the real value actually comes with combining the speed that AI brings with it augmenting the decision makings of those that work in security operations. So it shouldn't be the one that makes the decisions. It should just assist the teams to make the decisions, because it's actually now more scarier than, if I could say so personally, that it could be more scarier than a data breach when it comes to how it can disrupt your environment. So it needs proper guidance, governance as well.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if you want to chip in. Okay, no, thank you very much. I think we just have about 4 minutes. No, thank you very much, but maybe we can just take questions from the audience. Anyone's got a question? Okay. I think there's a hand there.
Afternoon. My name is Brian from Santam. I'm just curious to ask about the cloud mythos. What are you guys planning to do about it, seeing that is the biggest threat to the IT evolution, basically? Because the rate of vulnerabilities as they come, it's higher than the remediation, and that's something that is automated.
I think, in cyber, sometimes we in a hype industry, like, when it comes with cloud mythos, I think the important thing is that we need to ensure that the basic cybersecurity hygiene is in place. Because once we have that in place, we'll be able to then now just I want to say that when it comes to the vulnerabilities that will be presented by cloud mythos, we will now need to be able to just triage them and ensure that our cyber hygiene. Oh, I'm losing my thought.
Yeah, maybe I can just. So I think it's important to, like she's saying, that the basics, because if you don't have the basics from a cybersecurity perspective, then whatever comes will just exacerbate the problem. So we still have to continue to do all the basics, that we have been doing, but obviously now we need, after we have done the basics, it's continue to now evolve, because with AI, things are evolving. You can't be relying on what was working in the past few years. It's about ensuring that how can we also use AI, as a defense mechanism, because like we are saying, in the olden days, if you were using a horse, and then a car came, you couldn't just be still policing people with a horse. You have to now adapt and use a car so that you can chase the criminal. So it's about embedding all those AI processes in as part of cybersecurity detection tools that we are using. So we have to learn from them and also ensure that still the basics are in place.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Any other question?
Afternoon, Michael Jacobs here from Access Bank. This is more related to what you have said earlier, Muvhango, with regards to that cybersecurity and the ensuring the protection of the enterprise should be embraced by the whole enterprise, not one specific department, right? However, reality has shown that we do need an ultimate accountable party. Hence, we have, roles such as, CISO, security analysts, etc. My question then would be, in the current framework that we operate in, do you believe that those individuals who are ultimately held for the accountability of the enterprise, cybersecurity landscape, etc., are adequately enabled from a regulatory perspective, so as to be enabled and supported by business in order for them to carry out their duties? And if not, is there any plans in the future to, uplift that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, thanks for that. I think there are frictions, between the parties. I think also it mainly boils down to the leadership at the end of the day, because if the leader at the top is not emphasizing the collaboration among the colleagues below them, they are likely to fight against each other. So at this point in time, there are those restrictions, where business, different divisions are working in silos, and they're only pushing their own, I would say, KPIs, rather than working for the business as a whole. So if something happened, so it's more about also ensuring that on performance agreements, there are elements that you include about, for instance, if there's a breach, it won't only be an issue for a CISO. It will also affect someone like a CRO, and they should see that it will affect them, financially or from a performance perspective. And if something is included in a performance agreement, someone will make sure that it works properly. So it's important that at a leadership level, we ensure that that culture is there, and people are also held accountable through performance agreements, KPIs, etc., such that this thing, if they see I'm not doing my job, another person will come and say, Mandla, please help us, because if you don't do your job, then I will also be affected, not to leave it as a silo item. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we ran out of time. I can see our program director is trying to show us the sign that, no, we don't have much time. Maybe I just want to thank the panel here for the great work that they've done. Just to leave everyone with some word that, okay, indeed, as a country or as organizations, let us be the regulation nation, where we ensure that our systems and also the data that we store, which obviously data is gold, that it is basically enforcing privacy, compliance, and also the data is protected when it's obviously within those different premises or servers within our environment, when also in transit, because obviously data obviously can also be compromised then, and also where it is stored. So I hope through this session, we all learn and also take it from where we operate, and we improve our environment and processes. Thank you very much.